Let's get back together. Okay. Now, a man who needs no introduction. So I won't give one.
Where'd you get that?
Yes,
Last week.
Thanks, Carl. Morning. How's everybody? Good. I got a bunch of stuff I want to talk about today. Some of it's from the Bible. We're going to show something real quick. Real quick.
Pursue love. It sounds simple, doesn't it? Pursue love. But what does it mean to pursue love? Is it something we chase, like a promise? Or is pursue love a set of principles to guide our way? Maybe it's a series of action steps, like exercise patience, act kindly, avoid jealousy, etc. Whatever it is, if we choose to pursue love, we may find love demands more, like ask us to make room in our lives for people we'd rather not, people who don't deserve our love, and love them, even if it hurts a little or a lot. Because what if love demands more than I have to give, beyond my resources and abilities, my ideas, my comfy couch? What if love demands every little thing in me and from me, everything I have, and then asks me for more? But then, will I still pursue love?
That's good. Daniel does such a good job on things like that.
Yeah.
And you know, when there's announcements, that's a whole team effort. There's a team of people that write and put all that together, and they just do such a great job as well. And Carl does a great job. Yeah. Caitlin, she does a great job.
Yeah.
I got in so much trouble when I said what I did about Caitlin, so I want to repent and ask your forgiveness.
What did you say?
I don't remember. Something about pursuing love. That's all I remember. Today I get to talk about a topic for me that is a topic that I could talk on endlessly. I could spend a year every week talking about it. It is, for me, the greatest topic that there is. For me, there is nothing else that matters. And I think probably for all of us, that's true. Today we're going to talk about love. We've been doing a series, and this is actually the last in my series on 1 Corinthians 13. And the series has been called Living in Light of What is Truly Important. I think sometimes we can get distracted from what's really important. Life just seems to have a way of doing that with all of us. And whether we are believers in God or we don't believe in God, or we're in the middle of all of that, we all get distracted by things sometimes. And so what I want to do, and what I've been trying to do, is just kind of pull us back and say, let's just take a look again at what really, really is important. Because when we get down to it, life is really about a few simple things. And Paul, in his letter to the Corinthians, basically reduces that down to three things: faith, hope, and love. If you had to reduce your life down to the three most important elements, the most important things in life, the things that people, all of us, desire and look for, it can be reduced to faith, hope, and love. We all have faith, every one of us. Whoever you are, whatever you think about God, we all place our faith in something. And the faith is what really brings us hope. Hope is the fruit of faith. I place my faith in something because it offers me a hope for happiness, a hope for success, a hope for joy. It offers hope. And so faith and hope, you'll find in the Bible, will often go hand in hand. Faith produces hope. And so all of us, no matter who we are, there are three things that Paul reduces it down to. We started by talking about doing away, us in the church, doing away with childish things. And when we talked about that, we basically said, Paul's saying, childish things are those things that you have, that you believe you know for certain. I mean, there are some things that can be certain, but when you think you have all knowledge about who God is and how God works and what he does and why he does it or why he doesn't and how he couldn't, that's childish. Paul says, when I was a child, I thought as a child. Remember, he was a Pharisee, trained as a very religious person. If anyone knew about God, it was Paul. And then he says, but when I was a child, when I was that Pharisee, I thought as a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. And then he goes on to say, you see, we see through a glass dimly, through a mirror darkly. It's impossible for us to completely understand everything there is to know about God. So I think what Paul is saying is, listen, don't be childish. Don't think, when I was 13, 14, I knew it. Seriously, it was like my parents had no idea what the world was like anymore. I had surpassed them in all knowledge on that. And all they needed to do was stick with me and I would get them through the rest of life. Childish things. We don't understand what we don't understand. And so what's it look like to be mature? It looks like being a child. There's a difference between childish and childlike. We're asked to have childlike faith. Childlike faith says, I never have to worry because I know my Father. Come on. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't even have to have the answers because I know that he loves me and he will provide for me in every way that I need it. Childlike faith. So faith is not childish, but it's rather childlike, trusting God. And that's really what faith is. I read a quote from a guy named Andy Stanley, and he said this: perfect faith is not faith that moves God. Perfect faith is faith that moves us to trust God when he doesn't seem to be moving. See, that's what faith is. When I don't understand what's going on right now, when I don't understand why it looks like I don't have everything that I need, when I don't understand why I'm sick or why this is happening or why this is happening, faith says, God, I trust you. Amen. When everything around me seems to be at odds with me, I put my trust in you. Hope is the fruit of faith. It's to place our faith in something. When we place our faith in something, it will produce this hope. And so whether you place your faith in God, or you place your faith in your ability, or whether you place your faith in your riches or your fame, or you choose what you place your faith in. But I just want to ask, and I ask the one question, will what you've placed your faith in produce for you the hope that you desire? And that's the big question. And so Paul says these three things: faith, hope, and then today, I want to look at love. These three things will go with us throughout all eternity. But the greatest of the three, Paul says, is love. Look at it in 1 Corinthians 13:3. So now, faith, hope, and love abide. These three, but the greatest of these is love. I think no matter who you are or what you believe, we will all agree that the greatest desire in the world today, and actually throughout history, is a desire for love. Untold songs have been written about it. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of. How about this? Love. Love will keep us together. Think of me, babe, whenever. I'm dating myself. I don't know what the new love songs are about.
Very good.
Many, many, many songs are written on the topic of love and how important love is. And books, I don't know that you could count them all. Love is what I think all of us have this desire for, every single one of us. I remember when I was a little guy, I think I've told this story before, and I was kind of I was an introvert even as a kid, but I was also very lonely and somewhat depressed. And I could be disappointed very easily. And while I knew that my parents loved me, they never said it. You know, I say my dad didn't, my mom had a hard time as well saying it. But my dad never said the words to me that I love you. And I remember when I was just a little guy, I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and even now I have the picture of me standing on this sidewalk in the state streets in Costa Mesa, and I can tell you right where I was. There are little squares in the sidewalk as you walk down. I can tell you what square I was in. I can still see it. And I remember crying and thinking to myself, oh, wait a minute. First thing I thought was, the woman I'm going to marry, okay? So here's what she was going to have. She was going to have dark hair and make me chocolate chip cookies. So I got one of them. Yeah, and it wasn't the cookies. It was funny, but I remember that, and I remember then thinking, you know, how much I wanted to hear the words, just hear the words from my dad, I love you. I wanted to hear my dad say, I'm proud of you. And I remember thinking to myself in that moment, you've heard me say this, it was one of those pinnacles, one of those altar places in my life where I said, if I ever have children, I will tell them every day that I love them and I'm proud of them. You see, at an early age, I recognized how much I needed love. And I think that if all of us here were truly honest, we would all say the same thing. We all need it. We need love. Love is actually the required ingredient for a fulfilled life. And I don't think there's a person alive that doesn't desire it. Love is what motivates us in our lives. Everything comes from a desire for love, a desire for acceptance, the need to be seen and valued. We all want love. And yet I think there's a fear that we can find in all of us, because this is the connection sometimes that we make. There's a fear in all of us, and that fear asks the question, am I good enough? Am I good enough? I lived most of my life trying to prove that I was. And when I say most of my life, it was probably up till about less than 20 years ago. Am I good enough? And I lived in this fear that you would see that what you thought about me really wasn't true. So before you saw that, I would run from you. I would go a different direction. So whatever I did, if I was doing something and you came and you told me, wow, I love what you did there, I would literally stop doing it. I stopped singing because people kept going, wow, would you come sing here or come sing there, or I love how you sang there, and I went, uh-oh. If I continue this, they're going to be convinced that I'm not good. I'm going to crack, and then they'll say, oh, he's not what we thought. And so I quit singing. My life was controlled by this fear. I think so many of us have this fear of being found out. Am I good enough? You see, we all want significance. We live for significance. We are all created with this innate desire to be loved. A desire to be significant and seen and valued. It motivates everything. So we all have this continual search for purpose in our lives. You hear people talk about it all the time. I'm going to go away and I'm going to find myself. And I want to say, well, you're right here. Look, here you are. Here's a mirror. See, you're going to go away, and what does it mean to find yourself? It means I want to go away and find out what this is all about. We all have this search for purpose and a longing to be pursued. We all have this want to be chosen. As I grew older, there was a belief that love was something that had to be earned. If I could just be a certain way, then people will love me. Then God will love me. If I just live like this, or if I just do this, then God will love me. You see, we're not as good and we're not as desirable as we want to be. And so, we may even come to the conclusion that we're not worthy of love. And what's interesting is we try to hide it. I think we try to pretend, don't we? And we talked a little about that 2 weeks ago. Even though when we come to church, we tend to want to pretend, okay? And not really let people see us very well. We try to cover it up. We try to act like everything's okay. We try to live in ways that will protect us and hide our need and mask our pain. You know, one of the ways we may do this is we may use humor. Sometimes people that are the most depressed are the funniest people.
True.
If you look at some of the major comedians, many of them you will find struggle with deep, deep, deep depression. But we use this humor to kind of cover it up so that people will like us. If we're funny enough, then they'll see us, they'll like us, they'll accept us. And we know we're living a lie, but at least we're trying to get some significance, aren't we? So we may use humor. We may seek prestige. We may substitute our quest for significance with a quest for power, so that people will see how powerful we are, even though inside we're so weak. We may draw attention to our exterior appearance. So we work out. You know, if I just look stronger, if I just lose the weight, and it's really important, I'm not against those things, but sometimes we try to substitute those things because then people will look at me and will see me. We may even go as far as getting surgery, enhancing particular parts of our physique so that we're noticed. We may dress to be noticed because I just got to get some attention. I've got to be seen. I want to be significant. We're motivated by a quest for significance. It's part of our human condition. There's a quest for meaning and purpose. We long for love. And yet it seems so hard to find. We search for the person or the thing that will fill the gap for the void that we feel. Nothing seems to fit the unique shape in our heart that is longing for love. Nothing. At times we may feel like we've found it. I married this beautiful, dark-haired girl, but I was so disappointed she didn't make chocolate chip cookies. I thought I had love, No chocolate chip cookies. No, we may think we found it. We found that perfect person. We found that perfect job. We found that perfect cause. And then, once we find it, it seems to slip away or disappoint. We find out that marriages are really difficult and really hard, and some will fall apart. Parents disappoint. Children disappoint. Friends betray us. Jobs change. Significance, it seems to slip through our grasp and leaves us hoping once again. Leaves us longing once again. So we live our lives for significance. Down deep within ourselves, we don't think we deserve it. So we have a problem. When we take a hard, long look at ourselves, and I encourage you to do it sometime, and I think you have, you will know that you are flawed. Some, more than others. No. When we take a hard look, all of us, we can look inside and we know ourselves, and it's like, I hope nobody sees that part of me. Why is it I hope no one sees that part? Because they might reject me. We all are flawed. That's the problem. The last thing we want is to be rejected. So I want to tell you about the first time I asked Kelly out on a date. I was coy, I was sly, I was slick. I walked up to Kelly with all the confidence in the world. And I said, hey, I happen to have an extra ticket for the concert tonight if you'd like to go. She kind of looked at me very funny. She can tell the story better than I. You happen to have an extra ticket. That's why you're asking me.
Good for her.
See, I was cool and I was confident. I was secure in myself. But knowing that I presented the ticket to her and not, would you go to the concert with me? I have a ticket. I knew she could reject the ticket and it wouldn't reject me. So I presented to her the ticket. And well, you know what's really bad? She said yes. We went to a concert together. Now let me just pause, guys. If you are of dating age, don't ever do that. But you see, I wanted to deal with the risk involved, the risk of being rejected. I wanted to minimize the risk. And so I didn't present myself. I presented my ticket. And sometimes I think that's what we do in life. Sometimes we don't present ourselves. We present our ticket. We present something that it won't reject me. It may reject the ticket. And we want to project this ticket to people because it hurts less to have that rejected than to have ourselves rejected. We tend to live our lives trying to hide our faults, our weaknesses, our insecurities in order to be loved. So we try to present ourselves as people worthy of love, doing everything we can in order to appear to be good enough. Here's the thing, not only do we present ourselves in a way other than this, many of us approach God in this way. I'm doing my best. God, I'm doing my best. I'm hoping that it's good enough for God. But when we're really honest, if we really are honest, we have to say it's not. And so when we feel like it's not good enough for God, what we then need to do is move God from where he is to a place where I'm good enough. Does that make sense? I reduce God down. A loving God would never reject me. Hitler, he'll reject. But I'm at a level of goodness that he wouldn't reject if he's loving. And so we literally put God in a place where he will not reject us. We take a perfect God and move him to a flawed God just like us. And so a flawed God would not reject us. But the problem is we have a perfect God who says, imperfection can't even stand in my presence. So we live our lives seeking acceptance from others, acceptance from God, and we live in a way that minimizes others and maximizes ourselves. So why is love so great? Why does Paul say the greatest of these is love? First, because my faith and my hope depend on it. Without it, I have neither one. Without love, I cannot trust anyone. I can't fully trust. And you'll find that, won't you find that in your marriages? I remember early in my marriage, I shouldn't confess this, but I will. I remember thinking one time, if I give her an inch, she'll take a mile. I did. I literally thought that. And most of the marriages that I deal with, you know what the issue is? Trust. I can't give that to you. I literally had one guy when I was a therapist say, I cannot give her the rose. And I said, what's the rose? He says, the rose. I can't trust her with the rose because she'll crush it. Without love, I cannot have faith. I cannot trust. And without love, there is no hope. The second thing that's so great about God's love is that real love requires nothing of me. Listen to that. Real love requires nothing from you. It's not something you earn. It's freely given to you. That's what's so amazing about God's love. I don't have to earn it. I can't earn it. But we sing that song. It's the most amazing song. And every time I sing it, when I think about the words, and it's a song that's known worldwide, whether you are a churchgoer or not, Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. Amazing grace. That's love. Yes. Grace is that freely given gift of love to you.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh my goodness. Love. The greatest of these is love. Yes. When it comes to God, His love requires nothing from you. With God, I can now live from a place of love rather than for a place of love. There's a huge difference. When I can live my life from the knowledge, from knowing that I'm loved no matter what, that's a great place to be. But it's the hardest thing in the world for me to do. Because I always put conditions on love. I was born that way. I have to be good enough. God says, you'll never be good enough. I love you. I love you. So, sometimes we're held back because we see our flaws. The Bible says, for all have sinned and fall short. And so we approach God still with that thing in us that says, I don't think I've been good enough today. And yet, Jesus said, I've paid the price for you. Now you can enter the throne room of God freely. And you can go to the face of God, and you can see him, and you can feel his love, experience his grace, and know his mercy. He's given it to us freely. One of the other problems I think that we have in the church is we tend to take this idea that love is something that you kind of earn, and we tell the world that you need to do something, you need to change. We have this, remember I did this little sermon on the boat, that we're at this boat, and we're tied to the dock, and I feel like God is calling us away from the dock. One of the images that people shared with me for that was the image of a battleship. We're a ship going to battle. Can I tell you? No. We're not. Nowhere in Scripture will you find that we're to be a battleship in the world. Nowhere. You know what we're to be? The love boat. True, it's in my notes. Good job, prophetic. Listen, he says, gird yourself for battle. Do you know what that battle's about? It's that battle within you, not that battle with that person. We do not go out and battle the world. We don't have to take up the causes. We're called to go out and love the world, period. That's what we're called to do. We want to make it about something else, and I get that because we do that with ourselves. But God's love requires nothing from you. It is freely given. Freely given. And when you have experienced God's love, do you know what the sign of that is? You know what the sign of knowing the love of God is? Loving. You give it away. It's all about love. You see, in the church, we want to make it sometimes about significance in ourselves. I mean, that's the whole reason that Paul wrote 1 Corinthians 13. But if you will, Cecile, would you put up 1 Corinthians 13? If I speak in the tongues of men and angels, I'm pretty impressive. Oh, wait, let me go on. That's the Revised Version. But I have not love, I am only a resounding cymbal or gong. If I have the gift of prophecy and I can fathom all mystery and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, you guys will worship me. I'll be significant. If I don't have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but I don't have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. This is amazing. Listen to these words about love and let them sink in. And find out, you're going to find out when you're not loving. Love is patient. Okay? Love is kind. Okay? Doesn't envy. Check. Doesn't boast. 0 for 4. It is not proud. I'm proud of the fact that I'm not. It's not rude. It's not self-seeking. It's not self-seeking. Come on, Paul. It's not easily angered. Now I'm getting ticked. It keeps no record of wrong. What about the time, Paul, that you did this? Love doesn't delight in evil. Love rejoices with the truth. It always protects. Look at this. It always trusts. Look at that. Trust, faith. It always hopes. Right? It always perseveres. See, love never fails. If you love, you will persevere. It will not fail. It doesn't matter what is going on around you or to you. Love never fails.
Amen.
But where there are prophecy, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. Now we see but a poor reflection as in a mirror. Then we will see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. Follow the way of love. Eagerly desire spiritual gifts. Follow the way of love. So here's how that works, guys. Eagerly desire spiritual gifts. Desire them, desire them, desire them. Why? Because if you love people, you will need them.
Yeah.
If you love them, you will need them. The problem is sometimes we use them to look significant, and that's what Paul is dealing with. When your gift bears your name too often, it's not his gift. You get that? When it's about you, then it's not him. It's not him. When it's about your significance, it's not him. So, in the church we have this problem with wanting to be significant, but in the world we have this problem with trying to teach everybody they are not significant, that they are not measuring up, and we want to point out to them where they're not measuring up. I love what my son-in-law once said. This is the quote as best as I can remember it. I think I've made it better than what he said, but he's just a kid. I did not come to Jesus because someone revealed my sin to me. I came to Jesus because he revealed his love to me.
Amen.
We're to be the love boat. Really. This is the topic of the sermon, is the love boat. Real love will see you for who you are. It will see people for who they are. And then, not only does it see you, it receives you just as you are. Just as you are. Guys, this is the most amazing thing we've been given. It's what I say, it's stupid good. Think about it. If the church believed this, what would happen to our community? Everyone is looking for love. Everyone. Everyone. From the smallest child to the oldest person, we're looking for love. And so God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him, you'll not perish. You will live with him eternally. It's a love that requires nothing from you. And so it's a love, when we share, we should require nothing from anyone. Anyone. I don't care who they are. I don't care what they look like. I don't care what they've done or what they're doing. It doesn't matter. Our job is to love them. God's job is to so love them that it changes them. Why do we love God? Because he first so loved us that we couldn't help it. He filled that place that nothing else can fill. That's the message that we have. That's the message we have to share. Love requires nothing of you. He's given us a great gift. A gift that says you can live from love rather than for it. You don't have to earn it. I give it freely. So, people are looking for love. We all know that. I remember one time I was in Australia. I'll end with this story, and I was walking down the street, and I may have shared it before. I was with a team of people that I was leading from college. And we were in Sydney, and we just had dinner, and it was late at night, and we were in, I think it's called King's Crossing in Australia. It's kind of the place where the derelicts and prostitutes hang out. And we were walking down the sidewalk, and my team was about 5 paces ahead of me, and my heart just started to grieve because I looked over to my left on the corner, and there was a young lady, a prostitute, and a car had just pulled up, and she stepped into the car, and it drove away, and I began to cry. And I said, God, how do I reach people like that? And you know what he said? Love them. That's it. That's what we get to do. And when we know the love of God, we can then love, as Paul talked about in 1 Corinthians 13. We can be patient. We can be kind because he was with us. Right? So, as a church, we must set our course. We're going to cut ourselves away from the dock, and we're going to begin to go on a journey, which is what was talked about in the prophetic this morning. A journey that God has prepared for us. Can I suggest this? If we're going to err as a church, let's err on the side of love and grace. Okay? If we're going to err, let's choose that side and let God sort that out. Let's be known as the love boat, not a battleship. I don't want to fight with anybody. I don't want to prove God to anybody. I don't want to prove them wrong and prove me right. I get to love them. That's it. We must go. But we are a mercy ship. We are the love boat. Amen? Amen. Amen. Worship team, if you'll come up, we'll sing. We actually have time for a song. I usually don't do that. If you, for any reason, need prayer, we do have a couple minutes. If you'd like someone to pray with you up here, if you don't know this love I'm talking about, really know it. But you don't have to fake it. You don't have to say, oh, I don't want to go up there because it may look, I may have the appearance of, listen, I don't care and God doesn't care. If you don't know the love of Christ in this way, the love that he says, I require nothing of you, then come and get prayer. If you need prayer for anything else, people up here will love you. And as they love you, you will find that if you have need, God can meet it from that place of love. If you need prayer for sickness, come. God can meet it because he loves you. If you have prayer, need of anything else, come on up and we can get it. Father loved me, I also have loved you. Now, abide in my love. If you keep my commandment, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept the Father's commandment and abide in his love. And I say these things to you so that your joy, that my joy will remain in you and that your joy will be full. Now listen to his command. If you keep his command, and this is my command to you, love one another in the same way I loved you. Today, this week, for the rest of your time on this planet, purpose to do one thing, the greatest thing of all, love. Amen? Love you guys. You are amazing. Have a great week.